Welcome back to Friday Night Fever, the show where we break down all the high school football highlights from around the Panhandle in just 15 minutes. We're live from the WMBB studios for Week 5, for Week 7, for Week 9, for Week 10 of the 2025 regular season.
Well, Shelby, there's a lot that can be said about these two teams. Starting with the Hawthorne Hornets, they come in at 10-1, but you can't really hold that loss over their head. They're historically a program that makes it to state and has many appearances here.
Back in July, we introduced a Liberty County All-Star whose arm is weighed down by rings. She holds 5 state titles across 4 different sports and has since been dubbed Liberty County's sweetheart.
In favor of Mazinski, I do think he's under a lot of pressure a lot of the time. I do think his O-line could help him out a little bit more, and he's constantly rolling out of the pocket, but it seems like he does decently well once he's under pressure.
That's right. The Lady Commodores are back in the swing of things for some fall ball. Last week, they traveled to Enterprise State Community College where they were able to test out a couple of different lineups. And this new roster is decorated with talent. That's right. The Mosley Dolphins went on the road to visit the Arnold Marlins. The Dolphins coming off of a big win over Niceville last week, and they're on a 5-game winning streak. Now to culminate what a perfect season it has been for Blountstown, going 12-0 entering this game against the 10-1 Hawthorne Hornets. The entire city of Blountstown seemed to show up.
Yeah, I mean, going into Week 5 without what you said probably wasn't even a full game up until Week 5. That's kind of hard to do because now it feels like maybe you're playing catch up a little bit. Like you don't have the same amount of field time as the other teams.
Once a Marlin, then a Moccasin, and now a Seminole. Arnold alum Alex Steen put on a show for 3 years at Florida Southern and has now made his way to the starting 5 for FSU's now 2-0 basketball team.
I definitely think coming in at Week 5 for that too. You know, they have their confidence Week 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then being able to kind of have someone to not necessarily put you in your place, but, you know, match you up for Week 5. It's good that it's happening now than I would say later.
Mosley looking to keep their 7-game winning streak alive that Thursday night. The Seminoles start with the ball, but a fumble puts the Dolphins in the red zone. JP Holzenbach finds a flying Holden Hinson for the first 6 points within just a minute or so of that first quarter. Mosley's defense working so hard. Holzenbach gets back behind the ball with a handoff to Sammy Kism, who finds a small hole before seeing a sea of Seminoles. But he stays up on his feet for a big first down for Mosley. Holzenbach now off the snap, and he looks deep to Jamarcus Halstead going up the line. He's got clear air into that end zone, and the Dolphins come off this touchdown with an absolutely insane amount of energy. On the other side of the field, the Seminoles will manage a quarterback draw to put up 6 points, but Mosley will respond. Back on offense, Holzenbach finds Carson Griffin motioning across, and he's juking off defenders left and right. It takes about 4 Seminoles to get him to hit the grass in the Seminole territory. And a handoff to Kism again on this next play. He finds his way to the coast with a leap, reaching into that end zone. The score 19-7 in the second. And Kism will be the tried and true to run it up again. It gets up to 19-17 in the half, but Mosley will go ahead and handle business in the fourth quarter to take the win 26-17. A former Malone High School basketball player has turned his life-threatening diagnosis into a mission to save young athletes' lives. Chai Baker was part of the Tigers' 2014 state championship team and was just months away from playing college ball when his life changed.
August 19, 2014 is when that incident happened.
Basketball was part of Chai Baker's life long before college and long before it nearly cost him everything.
My mom, I say, drew me to the court. She used to be a coach. She used to coach here briefly when I was real little.
And the success he found early on led him to Oregon State.
They was the team that was the most interested in me at the time, and I took a visit, and I liked the Oregon and the state and the university. So I just had a great relationship with Oregon State and the staff, and it just drove me to go there.
But it was at Oregon State during a routine practice where he suffered sudden cardiac arrest from an undiagnosed heart disease.
ACM is where the heart enlarges. So me playing physical sports at a collegiate level or a pro level, it caused me to exercerate my heart at a fast-paced and it caused my heart to swell. So when my heart walls swell, it stopped the blood from flowing, and which causes cardiac arrest.
The diagnosis hit even harder after Baker lost a close friend to the same condition.
There was playing a pickup game at a local park, and he collapsed on the court right in front of my eyes, and it ended up being something serious, and he ended up dying. And he was later diagnosed with the same disease I was diagnosed with, ACM. So, very tragic moment, but yeah, he was a dear friend of mine.
Now Baker is using his story to bring awareness and save lives.
If a kid have anything that's wrong with their heart and they do get an EKG, that's why we do it. That's why who we play for do heart screenings, because if it's anything wrong, they'll be able to reevaluate it and see what's going on.
His goal is to reach as many schools, athletes, and families as possible. And his message begins with parents.
My main focus is to the parents first, to actually be involved in wanting to evaluate their kids and make sure that their kids are healthy enough and to be able to continue to play sports. And then for the kids and the athletes to just always stay healthy as possible.
October, tennis players from across the country traveled to Croatia to represent the United States at the International Tennis Federation Masters. The tournament featured competition for the 75, 80, and 85 and over world teams and individual championships, and this included a Panama City native.
Growing up, Betty played softball, but she eventually transitioned to tennis through college, a move that radically sparked her long tenure on the court.
I came home for the summer. I grew up here in Panama City, and I was offered a job at Bay High School. So I didn't get to have tennis at Bay High. So I started the tennis program in this county a long time ago. I started playing the Florida sanctioned tournaments when I was teaching, which was a lot of traveling to South Florida, but I played a lot of sanctioned tournaments. And then a pro came to Bay Point when I was in my late 30s. And he said, "Oh, do you know about the senior tournaments?" And I said, No, I don't.
It was former pro tennis player Gus Palafox that introduced Betty to senior tournaments. And with her success through these tournaments, she was selected to represent the U.S. at the Tennis Masters World Championships in Croatia.
We spent about 2.5 weeks in Bold Island, Croatia. The first week was a team event. We got the silver medal and they got the gold. And then the next week, I stayed and I played the individual championships, which was a lot of fun. And my partner and I, we ended up winning the gold in the doubles. So that was a lot of fun.
After all these years, she continues to play for herself and the opportunities the USTA brings.
It's a lifetime sport because of all it can do for you. You know, total body workout, helps mental aspects, social, physiological, helps release stress, and a wonderful sport, and I'm blessed to be able to still be playing. This is my 15th cup to play on, so I've been around the world. I've been to a lot of countries.
But she also wishes more people would follow in her footsteps.
I wish more people would play the sanctioned tournaments because league tennis really has gotten pretty strong, and people, they play league and they don't play the sanctioned tournaments, and the senior tournaments in age categories is something I really wish more people would participate in.
The U.S. competitors walked away with 3 out of the 6 team titles and 7 of 14 individual at the ITF World Championships. The Kennesaw State football team is making school history as they are bowl-bound for the first time ever as an FBS program. And in the defensive back room, a certain Mosley Dolphin, class of 2023 alum, reflects on his journey to college football.
Growing up in Panama City, Isaac Paul didn't have to look far for inspiration.
I lived right down the street, so I grew up watching Mosley football, as a kid and whatnot. So it was great getting to be able to, kind of live out one of those role player models that kind of how I viewed the high schoolers when I was young.
And playing Mosley football eventually led him to Kennesaw State, a program in transition and on the rise.
And at time, Kennesaw State was also in the transition to becoming an FBS program. So, with the opportunity to play on a higher level and then, kind of with the background, with the relationship with the coaches and whatnot, it just kind of became the right fit to come to Kennesaw State.
Even now, Paul says the toughness built at Mosley mirrors what he faces in college.
It's a lot of stuff that's going to to challenge you, mentally and physically. So, and that's kind of what you get at Mosley as well. Even now watching the Mosley mornings, I mean, you can tell this stuff that is difficult for players to complete. So once you get to college, it's a similar aspect.
Still, there was that undeniable welcome to college moment.
The biggest, kind of welcome to college football moment was just the speed of the game. Once you actually get on the field and, even in the practices and whatnot, things move a lot faster than what they did in high school.
The growth helped fuel a season filled with purpose and expectation.
I've been put in a great position to achieve any goal I wanted to achieve this season. Ever since new coaches got here, Coach Mack and everybody, we put a goal in place and we worked every day to get to that goal. So I don't think anybody on the team is surprised that we're getting ready to play for the conference championship.
And despite the magnitude of the stage, a conference championship appearance, bowl eligibility, and a growing fan base, Paul keeps everything in perspective.
I mean, it's the same game I've been playing since I was 6 years old. It's just going to be a couple more fans in the stands. That's just how I like to think about it. At the end of the day, the game of football is not changing. It's the same game I've played for countless years.
As he reflects on his journey, he has one piece of advice.
To enjoy it, man, because at the end of the day, it goes by fast. Those 4 years definitely go by fast. I feel like just yesterday, I was coming into Mosley as a freshman or a sophomore, getting my first playing time on the high school level. So definitely enjoy, all the early practices, all the late practices, all the opportunities you get to go into the playoffs and things such as that. Those are moments that, those guys are going to remember for, years and years after they graduate high school. So
Kennesaw State competes in the Conference USA Championship game tomorrow night.